My sister chose my cheating ex over me, took her to Taylor Swift instead of me, and now tells our family I'm the bad guy. After 5 years, it finally reached a breaking point this Christmas. What's worse than finding out your girlfriend cheated on you? Finding out your sister helped her do it. And invited her to Christmas dinner. That's my story. My name's David, and last Christmas, I walked into a festive nightmare orchestrated by the two women I should have been able to trust most. My sister, Sarah, and my ex, Jamie. It started with a seemingly innocent Taylor Swift concert invitation on I was conspicuously absent from. But the concert was just the first note in a symphony of betrayal, a performance that reached its crescendo at a Christmas dinner I'll never forget. A dinner where I learned the true meaning of family and the bitter taste of sisterly treachery. My brother, Mark, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me, just wanted to share something funny. He thrust his phone screen into my face, the bright display assaulting my already frayed nerves. Instagram. Sarah's story. Taylor Swift. Backstage passes. And, my family. Smiling, carefree, bathed in the golden lig. Octave concert, euphoria dada. My sister, Sarah, arm draped possessively around Jamie's shoulders. Jamie, my ex-girlfriend, beaming as if she'd just been crowned homecoming queen, right in the center of my family tableau. My breath hitched. It wasn't just the exclusion, though, that stung like a slap in the ear. Face from someone you trusted. It was the inclusion of Jamie, the deliberate, almost gleeful, display of their, whatever this twisted bond had become. It was a calculated act, a public pronouncement. Jamie is family now. David? He's just gone. See? Mark chuckled, scrolling through the saccharine. Snapshots. Family fun. Friendship bracelets. Guess you missed the memo, bro. Missed the memo? I'd been deliberately, systematically, erased from the invitation list. From their carefully curated, family fun. From their reality. The Taylor Swift concert. It was just the latest, most public, jabberwine. And a series of increasingly pointed insults. It all started 5 years earlier, with a backpacking trip and a confession that shattered my world. Europe. Die. Summer of 2018. My escape. My adventure. Years of saving, months of planning, culminating in a 2-week backpacking trip with friends. I'd invited Jamie, of course. Enthusiastically. She demurred, a tight smile plastered on her face, her eyes darting away. Work, babe. Crazy deadlines. You know how it is. I'd nodded, understanding. Sacrifices. We both made them. We were a team. Or so I thought. Liar. I returned home, sun-kissed, invigorated. My head buzzing with memories of ancient ruins and breathtaking landscapes, ready to share my adventures with her. She was waiting in our apartment, the air heavy, suffocating, charged with a static tension that prickled my skin. We need to talk, she'd said, her voice flat, devoid of inflection, like she was announcing the weather forecast. She sat on the edge of the bed, stiff, unyielding, her gaze fixed on some distant point beyond the bedroom wall. I cheated on you, she confessed, the words delivered like a rehearsed script, each syllable a hammer blow to the fragile foundations of my world died. While you were in Europe. The world tilted. My breath caught in my throat. What? I had to do something terrible, she continued, her voice still flat, still devoid of emotion, so that I couldn't come back. The words echoed in the sterile silence of the room. Nonsensical, cruel, utter. Lie. Devastatingly illogical. I love you so much, David, she'd added, the supposed declaration of love sounding hollow, mocking, a cruel twist of the knife. That the only way I could leave was to destroy everything. Destroy everything. Because she loved me too much? The twisted, perverse logic of Rugduddy. Wayne. The cowardly, pathetic justification. It was a lie. All of it. A carefully constructed, manipulative lie designed to inflict maximum pain, to shift the blame, to somehow make my love the reason for her betrayal. I moved in with Sarah. Our childhood bedroom, suddenly both claustrophobic and cave. Arneously empty. A stark reflection of the hollowness that had opened up inside me. Seeking solace in siblinghood. Seeking comfort in family. Naive fool. Because while I was drowning in cheap whiskey and self-loathing, while I was losing weight and sleep and any semblance of hope, Sarah and Jamie were blossoming, becoming inseparable, forging a bond that felt less like friendship and more like a twisted alliance, built on the ruins of my shattered heart. First it was casual lunches. Just checking in on Jamie, Sarah would explain, her tone airy, dismissive, as if my unease was simply my own very action. Then came dinners. Long, whispered phone calls that stretched late into the night. Hushed conversations behind closed doors. Laughter that sounded too bright, too brittle, too exclusive. Jamie, Aunt Jamie, became a permanent fixture in Sarah's family orbit. Birthday parties for Liam, Lily, and Chloe adored it. School plays, soccer games, even casual weekend barbecues in Sarah's backyard. Jamie's smiling face, always present, always beaming, woven into the fabric of my nieces' and nephews' young lives, a constant grinning specter haunting my every family interaction. My nieces and nephew, Liam, Lily, and Chloe. 7, 5, and 3 years old respectively. The innocent hearts I adored. The purest, brightest lights in my often cloudy world. And Jamie was Aunt Jamie to them. And Jamie, the betrayer, the home wrecker, the woman who had systematically dismantled my life, now a beloved member of their family. My family. Or what was left of it. You need to say something, Mark had urged, his voice low, simmering with a protective anger that mirrored my own. You can't just let her get away with this, David. You can't just let Sarah parade her around like some kind of trophy. He was right. The Taylor Swift concert Instagram post, that saccharine display of manufactured family fun, it was the breaking point. The public slap in the face that finally shattered my carefully constructed wall of denial. I called Sarah, my hands shaking, my voice trembling with a barely contained rage. The concert, Sarah, I started, my voice tight, strained, each word laced with a venom I didn't know I possessed. Jamie, Instagram. What the hell is going on? Silence. A long, drawn-out silence that stretched across the phone line, thick with unspoken accusations and simmering resentment. Click. Then, Sarah's sigh. Heavy, dramatic, dripping with practiced exasperation. Oh, David, really? This again? Are you seriously going to make a scene about a concert? A scene? I exploded, the carefully constructed control shattering into a million jagged pieces. Sarah, this isn't about a concert. No. This is about Jamie. This is about you. Why is she there? Why is she with our family? After everything she did to me? David, you need to move on, she retorted, her voice sharp, dismissive, laced with a condescending pity that grated on my nerves like sandpaper. It was 5 years ago. Get over it. Honestly, you're embarrassing yourself. Embarrassing myself? She was inviting my cheating ex-girlfriend to family events, flaunting their twisted friendship in my face, and I was embarrassing myself for reacting to it. The gaslighting was blatant, cruel, and utterly infuriating. It's not a bow. Being hung up, Sarah. I yelled, my voice cracking, raw with years of suppressed pain and simmering rage. It's about betrayal. It's about disrespect. It's about my own sister twisting the knife in my back and enjoying every goddamn minute of it. Another silence. Longer this time. Then, Sarah's voice, softer now almost. Seductive. Laced with a manipulative sweetness that made my skin crawl. David, maybe you're just jealous. Maybe you're jealous that Jamie and I have a real connection. Something you and she never had. Jealous? Jealous of their twisted, toxic bond. Jealous of their beach rule. Y'all? The absurdity of it, the sheer, breathtaking audacity of it, stole my breath away. You're sick, Sarah, I whispered, the rage draining away, leaving behind a chilling emptiness, a hollow ache of despair that settled deep in my bones. You're truly, deeply sick. I hung up, the click echoing and the sudden, suffocating silence, the dial tone a mocking, monotonous drone. Christmas dinner. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Sarah's house. Festive decorations. Fake cheer. And Jamie. Waiting for me. Taunting me. Daring me to break. I walked into Sarah's house on Christmas afternoon. armored in a brittle shell of forced indifference, bracing myself for the inevitable onslaught. The scent of pine and cinnamon, usually warm and comforting, felt cloying, oppressive, like a sickly sweet perfume masking something rotten beneath. And there she was, Jamie Dot, perched by the fireplace, radiating an unsettling sense of belonging, laughing a little too loudly, her eyes a little too bright, a little too knowing. Sarah, right beside her, beaming, possessive, like a queen surveying her twisted domain. Jamie turned, saw me, and her saccharine smile widened, a predatory gleam in her eye. Yes. David, Merry Christmas, she chirped, her voice dripping with false cheer, like we were old friends catching up at a holiday party, like there wasn't a gaping chasm of betrayal and pain stretching between us, a chasm she had gleefully helped excavate. Her new boyfriend, bland and interchangeable? He stood beside her, grinning vapantly, utterly clueless to the toxic undercurrents swirling beneath the festive facade. Dinner was a meticulously orchestrated torture session. Sarah, the hostess from hell, wielded her hospitality like a weapon, each forced pleasantry, each pointed anecdote, each carefully placed glance designed to maximize my discomfort, to grind my nerves into dust. Jamie, you simply must tell David about that hilarious incident at the pottery class, Sarah exclaimed, her voice ringing with false enthusiasm. Oh, David, you know Jamie's been taking pottery classes, haven't you? So creative. She nudged Jamie playfully, a conspiratorial, sickening nudge. Pottery classes. Jamie. Creative. Words that felt like a foreign language twisted into instruments of torture. I'd known Jamie for years. Pottery classes were about as Jamie as astrophysics lectures. It was a perf. Or man's. All of it. A calculated charade designed to make me feel small, irrelevant, a ghost haunting my own family gathering. Remember that couple's massage we got for your birthday, David? Jamie suddenly interjected, her voice dripping with a saccharine sweetness that made my teeth ache. Sarah, you should really try that place. Serenity Spa. It was amazing. She winked at Sarah again. That same conspiratorial, sickening wink, a silent, poisonous language only they seemed to speak. My hand clenched into a fist beneath the tablecloth, nails digging into my palm, a desperate attempt to growl. And myself, to control the volcanic rage bubbling beneath the surface. Couples massage. My birthday. Serenity Spa. Memories that should have been sacred, intimate, precious, now weaponized, twisted into instruments of public humiliation. David's not really the SBA type, is he, Jamie? Sarah purred, her eyes glittering with malicious amusement, her voice laced with a condescending pity that made my stomach churn. He has always been a bit wound up, a bit tense. She laughed, a sharp, brittle sound that echoed through the forced cheer of the room, bouncing off the festive decorations, mocking my pain, celebrating my humiliation. Kate's fork clattered against her plate, the sudden sharp sound cutting through the saccharine sweetness like a shard of glass. She shot Sarah a warning glare, her brow furrowed, her lips pressed into a thin white line. Mark stared at his plate, his jaw clenched, his knuckles bone white, his body radiating a barely contained fury that mirrored my own. Even Mom, bless her oblivious heart, shifted uncomfortably in her seat, sensing the palpable tension, the undercurrent of hostility thrumming beneath the festive facade. Sarah, that's enough, Kate said, her voice low, controlled, but edged with a steely resolve that brooked no argument. Maybe we should change the subject. Now. Oh, lighten up, Kate, Sarah scoffed, waving her hand dismissively, her smile sharp, brittle, challenging. It's just a joke. David can take a joke, can't you, David? Or are you too sensitive? She turned to me, her gaze locking onto mine, her eyes glittering with malicious amusement, daring me to react, daring me to break. My chair scraped against the polished wooden floor as I stood abruptly, the sudden movement slicing through the suffocating tension like a knife. Now, I'm done, I said, my voice low, trembling, but firm, unwavering. I'm done with this sick, twisted charade, David. Mom gasped, her voice laced with a desperate plea, her eyes wide with alarm. Where are you going? It's Christmas dinner. Home, I said, my gaze unwavering, fixed on Sarah, on Jamie, on the two women who had systematically, deliberately, dismantled my life, piece by agonizing piece. I'm going home, to a place where I don't have to pretend that betrayal is something to be celebrated, to a place where family doesn't mean this. I turned and walked away, leaving behind the forced cheer, the fake smiles, the suffocating atmosphere of Christmas betrayal, leaving behind the wreckage of my family, leaving Sarah and Jamie to wallow in the toxic mess they had created. I didn't look back. Couldn't look back. Not yet. The digital explosion came later that night, a furious barrage of text messages that shattered the fragile remnants of family peace. Sarah's initial salvo, David was being dramatic again at Christmas. Seriously, he needs to move on. Ignited the powder keg of years of unspoken resentments and simmering tensions. Mark's reply was immediate, visceral, and fiercely protective. Dramatic. Sarah, are you deliberately trying to be cruel? What you and Jamie are doing is sick. Seriously sick. And incredibly hurtful. Kate's message followed swiftly, equally scathing. Sarah, I'm beyond disappointed. I'm disgusted. Inviting Jamie? Taunting David like that? At Christmas dinner? It's unforgivable. You owe David a massive apology. Sarah's carefully constructed defenses crumbled under the weight of their combined condemnation. Her replies became increasingly frantic, defensive, self-pitying, and ultimately, damningly revealing. You don't understand. N.D. She texted, her digital voice cracking with desperation, laced with a victimhood that rang hollow, false. Jamie is my friend. She's the only one who truly gets me. David never understood me. He was always so distant, so judgmental. Judgmental? I'd been supportive, loving, devoted. I'd been a fool. Blinded by love, betrayed by trust. Sarah, no one is saying Jamie can't be your friend, Mark texted back, his patience audibly fraying, his digital tone clipped, sharp. But you don't have to rub it in David's face. You don't have to be deliberately cruel. It's called basic human decency. Something you seem to have completely lost sight of. Decency? Sarah shot back, her tone laced with a bitter resentment that dripped from the screen. Decency? David was never decent to Jamie. He was always so controlling. So emotionally unavailable. Maybe if he'd been a better boyfriend, she wouldn't have. She trailed off, the unspoken accusation hanging heavy in the digital air. Emotionally unavailable? The irony was so thick, so suffocating, it was almost comical. Sarah, the queen of emotional detachment, the master of deflection, the architect of emotional walls, accusing me of emoti. Oh no, unavailability? The hypocrisy was breathtaking. The digital argument raged late into the night. A brutal, unforgiving family war waged in furious text messages and angry emojis. Years of unspoken resentments and simmering tensions finally erupting into the open, shattering the fragile illusion of family unity beyond repair. And as the digital dust settled, the ugly truth began to emerge, seeping out from the cracks in Sarah's carefully constructed defenses. Jealousy, insecurity, a twisted possessive need for Jamie's attention, a warped desire to control not just Jamie, but my life, my fineness, my very being. Kate, deeply disturbed by the increasingly unhinged and self-incriminating nature of Sarah's texts, took action. Quietly, discreetly, she started making calls, asking questions, piecing together the fragmented puzzle of Sarah and Jamie's twisted friendship. And the picture that emerged was far more sinister, far more calculated than I could ever have imagined. Then came Kate's email. Subject line stark, chilling. We need to talk. Seriously. Alone. Kate's words, delivered in the sterile format of email, landed like a series of calculated blows. Sarah hadn't just friends with Jamie. She'd become something far more insidious. Jamie's accomplice. Her enabler. Her puppet master. Sarah had been feeding Jamie information. My information. Private details, intimate vulnerabilities, whispered confessions shared in moments of sibling trust, all meticulously, deliberately relayed to Jamie like juicy gossip, like ammunition in some twisted game only they seemed to be playing. My dating life, my therapy progress, my career anxieties, my financial worries, nothing was sacred, nothing was off limits. All fodder for Sarah's twisted entertainment, all weaponry. Zed by Jamie to inflict maximum emotional damage. And Jamie, in turn, had used this stolen information with chilling precision, sharing it with mutual friends, twisting my vulnerabilities into public jokes, turning my pain into a source of amusement, a currency of social validation. Sarah, my own sister, had not just betrayed me. She had actively, deliberately, systematically sought to destroy me, all while maintaining the facade of concerned sibling, the caring older sister offering support. The depth of the betrayal was incomprehensible, the casual cruelty breathtaking. I felt sick, Viola. Ted, utterly exposed. Like my most intimate self had been stripped bare, dissected, and put on public display for their twisted amusement. Desperate for the full, unvarnished truth, I found Melissa's number, Jamie's former roommate, a woman who had always seemed to see more than she let on. Took a deep breath, and dialed. We met at a quiet, unassuming cafe, the air thick with unspoken tension, the clinking of coffee cups a jarring counterpoint to the heavy weight of unspoken truths. Melissa, I began, my voice barely above a whisper, trembling with a mixture of fear and a desperate need for clarity. I need to know everything about Jamie, about Sarah, please. Melissa hesitated, her eyes filled with a mixture of pity, sadness, and a palpable sense of guilt. She sighed, a long drawn-out sigh that seemed to carry the weight of years of unspoken secrets. David, she said, her voice low. Serious, her gaze unwavering. It's worse than you can imagine. And then, Melissa began to talk. And as the truth spilled out, piece by agonizing piece, my world tilted again. And then, Melissa began to talk. And as the truth spilled out, piece by agonizing piece, my world tilted again, threatened, aimed to shatter completely. She confirmed the affair. Long-term. Months. Before Europe. Planned. Calculated. Not a drunken mistake. Not a moment of weakness, but a deliberate, cold-blooded act of betrayal. But that was just the beginning. And Sarah. Melissa's voice dropped to a near whisper. Hurry. As filled with a pained reluctance, Sarah wasn't just clueless. She wasn't just oblivious. She knew David. She knew about the affair, from the start. My breath hitched. My blood ran cold. Knew? I choked out, the word barely audible, a strangled rasp in the quiet cafe. Sarah knew? Melissa, no. Dead grimly, her gaze unwavering, locking onto mine, forcing me to confront the horrifying reality. She didn't just know David. She encouraged it. Encouraged it. The words echoed in my mind, bouncing around like ricocheting bullets, each syllable a fresh wave of nausea, a fresh stab of pain. My, one sister had encouraged my girlfriend to cheat on me. The monstrous inhumanity of it, the sheer, twisted depravity of it, almost broke me. Melissa continued, her voice low, steady, but laced with a quiet anger that mirrored my own burgeoning rage. Sarah's motivations, Melissa explained, were two people. Isted not of jealousy, insecurity, and a desperate possessive need for control. Sarah had been envious of my relationship with Jamie, envious of the love and connection we shared, envious of Jamie herself, her vibrancy, her confidence, her perceived perfection. And instead of dealing with her own twisted emotions, Sarah had chosen to lash out, to sabotage, to destroy. She saw Jamie as something she wanted, Melissa said, her voice barely above a whisper, her brow furrowed with disgust. Something she wanted to possess, to control. And she saw you as an obstacle, someone standing in her way. Sarah hadn't just betrayed me. She'd used Jamie as a weapon, a pawn in her twisted game, a tool to inflict maximum pain, to dismantle my life, to feed her own warped ego. And Jamie, weak, selfish, and easily manipulated, had played along, eagerly embracing her role as the instrument of my destruction. The I love you too much to stay speech, the carefully rehearsed confession, the dramatic exit. It was all orchestrated, Melissa revealed, a meticulously planned performance co-written and directed by Sarah herself. A cruel, calculated script designed to inflict maximum damage to ensure a cleaner breakup. Cleaner for Jamie, of course, not for me. Sarah had even coached Jamie on how to end things, offering strategies, suggesting tactics. all while watching me spiral into despair, all while pretending to be my supportive sister, my compassionate confidant, my loving family. My sin. My protector, my betrayer. The weight of it all was almost unbearable, a crushing burden of broken trust, shattered illusions, and the agonizing realization that the people I had loved most, the people I had trusted implicitly, were the very ones who had inflicted the deepest, most devastating wounds. Armed with this devastating, soul-crushing clarity, I knew what I had to do. Christmas dinner wasn't just awkward. It was a battleground. And I was done playing the victim. I was done swallowing the lies, the forced smiles, the calculated cruelty. I was going back to Sarah's house. I was going to confront them. Both of them. Face to face. At Christmas dinner. In front of my family. And this time there would be no escape. No retreat. No more silence. It was time for the truth to explode. I stood abruptly, pushing back my chair. The sudden movement echoing in the quiet cafe. Thank you, Melissa, I said, my voice low, but firm, a newfound resolve hardening my gaze. Thank you for telling me the truth, David. Melissa reached out, her hand briefly touching mine, her eyes filled with a mixture of sympathy and concern. Be careful. Careful? Caution was a luxury I could no longer afford. I was done being careful. Done being quiet. Done being the good brother, the understanding son, the forgiving family member. It was time to unleash the storm that had been brewing inside me for far too long. It was time for them to face the consequences of their betrayal. It was time for the truth to finally, irrevocably, shatter the facade of their carefully constructed lies. And Christmas dinner, the supposed celebration of family and goodwill, was going to be their reckoning.